then I will start the intro.
Says you.
Welcome to the Anachroschism. That's us, the Anachros of the Schism.
That's a good intro. You should keep going.
We're here today to play some D&D, like we do. That's us, D&D people. We play.
And
Grail's almost dead, ladies and gentlemen. I just want you to know. Don't touch trapped doors. They'll electrocute you.
Listen, I'm
also,
fine.
Open sockets. Don't do that either. Don't, we're learning a lot this week.
but we didn't know it was trapped until after we sprung the trap.
It's School of Hard Knocks. It's whatever.
So,
It's actually not true. I think we did know it was trapped. We thought we could overcome it, though.
Yeah.
And we
I
did.
was wrong.
And we did. We did. It wasn't
through sheer
without
force of physicality.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Technically.
If Grail had happened to be there by herself, who knows what would have happened?
Dead. Just completely.
Possibly.
Hmm?
Maybe Wooster would have come along. Who knows? Anyways, it is the Anachroschism. It's the game about spiders and a cliff. It's fine. Don't worry about that. And what we picked up, or where we pick up from last time, where we left off, the group is reconvening at the Sword and Flask, the inn in Timberbrook, having had I would say a full day of activities, but one half of the group's day was a little bit more full than the others, as it turned out. But some of them had a nice meal and found out some information, and some of them snuck into Isaac's house and stole some stuff.
I did love the dichotomy of that, where it was just like, and now we're back to the other group who is having dinner.
Yeah.
Grail is dead.
I'm
And what's
on death's
for
door.
dessert?
Yes. Oh, there's a whole cart of items. Wow, what to choose from. Wow.
Meanwhile.
Huh. So, as we pick back up, the Karash, Tessie, and Lena part of the group had already made their way back to the inn, had a chance to look at the note that had been snuck into Karash's hand at the train station. And within minutes of you guys having a chance to kind of pore over that and just talk about what it might mean, Grail and Isaac, you also make your way back in, and you can all meet up in the same room.
Great. Are we in the room now?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Thanks to the convenience of storytelling, everyone's just right there.
If anyone cares to observe, I won't speak for Grail. I'm pretty, eyes are shifting, looking behind me, seem a little nervous on the way into the room. That's Isaac.
I'm not feeling great. I'm going to probably go lay down on a bed.
Good,
Or
Grail,
I'm
yes.
gonna sit up on the bed. I'm gonna just kind of sit down though, because I think I need a minute.
I'm going to wash a cloth. I'm going to wet a cloth and bring it over to her. And while I do it, I'm like, so how was dinner, everyone?
It was fine. What happened with you guys, though? You don't seem okay. What happened?
I mean, not a ton of note. I look at Grail a regular night. We went to go check out House Dryden from the outside, and then snuck inside through a tunnel. And we were pretty careful, but not quite careful enough. And Grail may have triggered a trap somewhere in the house.
Yeah.
But
It
she's
got better.
fine.
I'm gonna lay on hands, Grail, for 30 points.
That's
Thank
appreciated. Thank you.
It goes the whole day's worth just chonk.
And
Did anybody see you, Isaac?
no, not anyone with only two exceptions. Wooster, my old butler, Wooster. We can trust him, so that's a non-issue right there. He's great.
Good. That's good.
He's doing well. And Connor is the other one. Yeah, my kind of surly brother. He
Less good.
The one that wanted to kill us when we came into town, but didn't because it wasn't polite.
Yes, he caught a glimpse when he chased us through the house. But that was the most. And we got a good haul. Grail, we got a bracelet and some parchment. Actually, Tessie and I wanted you to take a look at this, and I try handing him the papers that we got, the scrolls.
And the bracelet, probably. I mean, I think if anyone will know anything, it's probably Tessian.
I don't know about that, but he can look at it.
I want to look too. I'm going to look over your shoulder, Tessian.
So while you guys are doing that, I'm just going to say I will go into more detail now about how he saw us, chased us, things that we said that were important, maybe less when we were talking shit and more about interactions. Father not being there, sister not being there. But yeah, so kind of that's where we're at.
I don't think we were followed, though. I mean, we were pretty good about skedaddling, so I think we're okay for now.
I don't know what Connor's next move is.
Probably not good.
I would guess we should probably start thinking about heading out. Unless you all have something more pressing. I can't imagine you do.
Well, we might. We did have train tickets for tomorrow night, but Karash, if you don't mind explaining, and then Tessian's going to look at the papers and see if he can figure them out.
Okay, go ahead and make an Arcana check with advantage since Lena's helping you.
Yeah, teamwork.
That's fucking team.
Explain what, Crash?
Oh,
Did you find a Dragonborn?
Oh.
that's a critical hit for a 25.
Oh, hot damn.
Go ahead, Crash.
We found there are 2 Dragonborn we were going to go meet in the morning that are from my clan, and someone handed us a note when we were in the city wandering around. There is another meeting we must attend to tomorrow.
A note, a meeting from who? Where?
I do not know.
That
And I do not recall now.
do you have the note out by any chance, Crash?
But I wouldn't have the note regardless, so...
Oh.
Wait, who had the note when we left off? Was it Tessian?
One of
it
the
was
you.
somebody who can read.
He handed it to one of you. I don't remember which.
I don't remember
Yeah.
either.
It would I would guess Tessian, but I'm not.
I don't know.
positive.
Tessian just sort of he's looking at one thing and he's like, "Oh, this is." Fishes around in his pocket, pulls out the other one, and just holds it out someplace.
Like,
There you go.
grab it. Not like rudely, but I'm gonna swipe it and I read it. And what does it say, Chris?
It's
Partially for me, partially
exact
for-
words, but it was something is rotten in Timberbrook. Where's the note?
Meet me at the open door tomorrow at noon. Don't be followed.
Yes.
Well, listen here. I mean, this isn't exactly news for us. I mean, no offense, but Isaac's family's gotten their names written all over this place. It's rotten as can be. It just stinks. So I don't know if this is something we actually need to... I'm nervous. This seems like a trap.
Yes, Grail. I mean, I had a similar thought. Something's rotten in Timberbrook. Yeah, no kidding. But at the same time, strikes me as strange because if it was Kana, he's not really into subterfuge. He just comes out with his big stupid meathead and starts talking. So, this
Why Karash? No offense, Karash. It's just kind of strange. We haven't been here long.
truly why Karash. Was he big? Could it have been another Dragonborn under the hood?
Not likely.
It was a smaller individual. You didn't have a chance to
Right.
see whom they were in a hood,
Yeah.
but it was either a big dwarf or a small human, at least as far
Okay.
as height goes. Probably a foot and a half shorter than Karash, maybe 2 feet.
Well, shit. I
I
will.
will see.
So to have been a Dragonborn, it would have had to have been a child. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely.
Well, I'll save you all the trouble and say I may have fucked us. I apologize. I thought we could go to the house and leave. It honestly wasn't my intention to even start snooping. It just the opportunity presented itself, but now we have a choice to make.
Yes, we do.
And I
So,
don't...
what have we found, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, let's go through
I'm
it.
sort of delaying it on purpose because it's going to take you a better part of like 10 minutes to go over.
Okay, I mean, we can continue then.
That's fine. I don't mind the pause being not exactly congruent with the
We're
time.
all thinking for 10 minutes.
The basic idea for the people who are wondering, who are really hardcore about mechanics, is I happen to think that like identify is bullshit. So as long as I think people that are magically inclined can take the time and have the space to sit down and look at something, I think it's fine. Especially on a critical success, that's certainly going to work. So just so people know.
You found the meaning in the meaning.
I'm sorry, you don't have the identify spell, so you don't know what this magic item is.
There's
Yeah.
no
You'll
idea.
never figure it out, even if you attune to it. You don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure, like a short rest of study is supposed to let you know or something. I
In
don't
theory,
know.
yeah, but I'm going to make it even shorter than that because that's still an hour. So I think if you're taking the time to dedicate to it, it's basically a mechanism that I've put in where it's like, as long as you can take the time to look things over and like go through it and be thorough, you can do it. If you're trying to do it in the heat of battle, it's probably not going to work.
Well, we don't have identifiers, so it's appreciated.
So,
Yes.
so while we're looking, I mean, we're all thinking. I'll say, what about those papers, Lana? Do you see anything?
What am I seeing?
So,
DM?
Tessie
What
and
do your
Lena,
help I see?
yeah, you unravel these two bundles of scrolls as they were. And it turns out that even though it looks like it's multiple scrolls wrapped within one, especially in the case of the one that's on the unfamiliar paper, both of them are actually just one big scroll. And we're talking, these are like 2 feet in length. And they unfurl into something more like, I don't know, 6 or 7 feet. Like pretty big here. On the one of them, you see, I mean, you have a critical on this, so I guess you're going to see a whole lot. Let me scroll down
Sweet.
here.
We're doing the thing where like I'm trying to like scroll one end as you're like unrolling the other, so
Yeah.
we're like doing like this thing. You know?
Yeah.
It's very cinematic.
Yes.
On the one that is on the unfamiliar paper, the non-parchment, you're not entirely sure what it is. What you eventually see as you unfurl it and take a look at it, it looks like a schematic of sorts. It looks like an architect or some other person's similar work that has made some kind of drawing with all sorts of facts and figures and measurements on it. And given the natural 20, you have more than enough aptitude to look at this for a bit and realize this is or at least a version of, the plans for the giant underwater submersible that you saw in Lycidian. It talks about the exterior being covered in these metal plates, some of which you saw in progress when you visited there, trying to find out some more information. It talks about the fact, I mean, you can sort of understand this having seen it, but the fact that it's massive, we're talking like the size of an arc. And you can do some quick math on the measurements and whatnot to see that that's definitely the case. We're talking, thousands of feet on the long side. You can see that it has been basically altered with those metal plates such that it can go underwater, be waterproof, but it also has an effect that shields it against magic.
Excellent.
So none of this is necessarily new information. Some of it is stuff that you could have gleaned from kind of looking at it or putting the pieces together, but it's basically a hard and fast truth at this point that those are all the case with this particular vehicle, that it's under construction, or was.
And if you can remind me, its construction was not very open in Lycidian, right? They had hid it like behind warehouses and stuff. Like this wasn't a known fact that they were building it.
Correct. They had rented one of the largest warehouses on the docks and were having people essentially kidnapped/coerced into working on it. And access was very limited. You only got in because you basically snuck in between a guard patrol and talked them away. But this was not a public project by any means. The number of people who knew about this in Lycidian had to be minimal at best.
So this is pretty big, right? This is big. This is proof.
This is proof that your father might very well be, arming himself for, at the very least, to make a move. I'm not going to lie, Isaac. This is really big. This is we should consider letting the Empress know about this.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, at the very least, we could show Lauren she was interested in anything we found, but yes, can we escalate it to the Empress? She should know.
Tessian sort of, he's playing with the idea in his head. He's like, I mean, if we are going to make a move at all, this is the proof we need. With this, if we at least got it into her hands, she could arm her people against this at the very least. And
I'm not a engineer by any means, but with the blueprint here, it could give way to some weakness or some way to combat it. More information about the construction is good, right?
Yes, I mean, who knows what we could find looking at this. It could be, like a torpedo port that accidentally leads to a weakness and the whole thing just explodes.
No, that's a silly idea. No, I'm just kidding.
No one will ever do that.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't? I mean, this seems like a no-brainer to me.
I mean, Tessian kind of looks to Lena and he's like, well, we do already have something to be doing, but we do need to head that direction. We could try to take the train all the way to Waychester, if need be.
So at this point,
And I'm
gonna,
nodding.
I'm gonna get something out of my bag. I think I have some parchment, and I'm gonna actually try and make a copy of it. Not like a 1-to-1, but like in case we, for any reason, it goes missing, somebody takes it from us. I want to be able to make sure we have something that we can look at.
Okay.
I like that.
I'm gonna make a check for that. That's fine. You have the time to do so. Over the better part of the next half an hour, as you guys are still conversing and still going over things, we still have the other one to go over, obviously. But as you're just going through these things, Grail gets out parchment from her bag and starts to take down the most vital of the details. Not everything down to the letter, because her parchment, frankly, isn't big enough to do it. But on a smaller scale, she can at least get the main stuff on there. You know, the dimensions, some of the specifics about what it's made of, stuff like that. She can jot down on her own version of it.
So that was still one scroll, though, right?
Correct.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess I would ask, what does the other one say? But also the magic bracelet, maybe to discern what that is as well.
Mm-hmm. The second scroll, as Tessian kind of unfurls it and looks it over, and he looks to the group once he's had a chance to take a look at it. It's also not super hard for you to put together either, Isaac, at least on some level, because it looks like a gun of some kind. Closer inspection from Tessian, as he kind of explains to the group, reveals that this appears to be a miniaturized, more portable, developmental version of a mana cannon.
Okay.
The specs here
Yikes.
are for a weapon that is, in essence, an oversized rifle that would, in theory, and Isaac and Tessian are the ones who most know about this because they're the most connected to Aramea and its history, but if it's meant to mimic the original mana cannon, will probably be sucking out the force of people that are around it to serve as ammo for it. It seems to be on a more conceptual level than the submarine, which has a lot of details to it, like almost to the letter. This seems to be, because it's almost as big scroll as the other one, but obviously it doesn't take up nearly as much space. But there's multiple iterations of it, whether it's different ideas or a progression of development, you're not entirely sure. But the essence of what it is almost undeniable. It doesn't say the words mana cannon anywhere on it, but those who know Aramean history are doomed to not repeat it, hopefully. You recognize this as what is meant to be, because the mana cannon was huge. We're talking like a room devoted to it in Waychester at the time. This is a big rifle that would be difficult to wield for somebody who was not used to it, but it is still something that could be picked up and taken to another location with relative ease.
Good, good. You know what we needed after the Cataclysm? A way to make it portable and mass-produced.
Yes, Isaac, look, I'm not one to usually support your little adventures like this without the rest of us, but I have to say, I'm glad you did. With all of this information here, this is damning, to say the least. To be fair, this is so damning, and he kind of takes a second to look at Isaac, and he's like, we need to let someone know about this, but we may want to consider not letting this schematic survive.
We just don't know who else may have access to this already.
We need to at least keep it as proof until we can show the Empress, ideally. My concern is, I hope you're right, and that it's damning, and not that he has been commissioned to create these weapons. That is a whole other avenue I don't really want to go down right now.
He looks like he has some thoughts, but he kind of keeps them to himself. He's like, at the very least, we do need to let the Empress know that this is a very real threat. With things like this, I mean, if they have the same properties as the main mana cannon, they could be weaponized in ways outside of just the blast itself. I mean, and he kind of pauses, and he's like, you would need a lot of slaves in order to power things like these, if you had a lot of them.
Which is absolutely what we've already discovered. We found, it's a bad way to think about them, but the fuel stations, if you will, on our journeys already.
Your father might be amassing a sizable amount of ammunition for his new arsenal, yes.
Seeing people as ammunition does sound like a thing my father would do.
And Tessian's like, He kind of looks to Lena. I'm sorry, but we might have to prioritize this. If we focus solely on the Conatus, there may not be much of an Aramea left.
You're exactly right. I think this takes precedence because if this, and I'm like gesturing to the cannon schematic, if this happens, this affects everyone, including my home and everyone that I'm trying to protect and help there anyways. We need to get this out there.
Lena.
I wonder if we should, yes.
Go ahead.
I wonder if we should, remind me, which, is Cavus's guild is that connected to the Empress? I don't remember.
Connected to directly, no.
Okay.
Because the guilds almost all operate out of Lycidian on their own, separate from the monarchy.
Right.
Cavus himself knows the Empress. Talked about her briefly when you met him, I don't think the last time, but the time before.
Yeah.
So he has a personal connection to her, but the Crusaders themselves, ultimately everything is sort of under the Empress's purview, but they are not directly connected to her, nor do they answer to her.
Is there a guild station in Timberbrook for that guild?
For the Crusaders?
For the Crusaders.
You haven't checked around yet?
Would I know, though?
That's fair. There is not, no.
Oh, okay. So there's no guild here, so there's no real good way to reach Cavus quickly. We could consider going back to Lauren, but that might be a waste of time. Lena, when you were at the station, we used to have late-night trains going out of the town, but my father's instituted some different things, curfew included at different times. I don't know if that's still a thing. Did it look like any trains could still go out tonight?
I think the latest time is 8 o'clock.
What time is it right now?
Around there.
I
Okay.
thought we had missed the last train, but maybe I'm wrong.
No,
For the day.
you had not missed the last one because
Okay.
you were getting there as the workday was ending. That's why it should be about 8 o'clock now. I'm not saying that to be weird about it, but like you guys were there around 6.
Yeah.
As the people were all kind of
Yeah.
leaving their work and heading to that side of town, the people who don't live in Timberbrook were leaving for the day to go back to their homes, and that's why it was so bustling at the train station.
Do we hear like woo woo?
Yeah, no, that's it. So at this point, by the time you've done all that there and come back here and talk for a bit, you're pushing 8 o'clock. It might not be that yet, but it's damn close.
So if that's the case, we have a decision to make. Karash, how strongly do you feel about wanting to see your Dragonborn tomorrow? Karash, by the time you're done thinking, the train will be gone out of the station.
There is a very large number of slaving ships that I have helped to cut off and destroy and slavers that I have killed in 2 years. And your father is collecting people to be ammunition.
Yes. Is seeing them as objects, precisely.
Your father may be responsible for my family.
And many more, Karash. Many more families. That's why this is important. I hope you don't mind, but we may have to put a number of our own personal needs aside to get this information into the hands of those who can potentially protect the kingdom against Isaac's father.
Sorry. Go ahead.
That is not a problem. We will need to do what we need to do, but your father will need to punish for this.
He
I
will.
think on that we all agree.
We can leave a letter for whoever it is that is in town.
Well, Karash, just let me tell you, if it means enough to you, here's my line of thinking. We need to get these on the way to the Empress. Tessian, Lena, for many reasons that I won't go into here, it makes the most sense for you to take these documents and start heading that way. For Karash, if we want to see the Dragonborn tomorrow, and if we want to see that stranger who left the note, personally, I do, it might make sense if we follow on the next train. I like to think a little more impunity from my father, and I have a backup plan I think will work once, not entirely thrilled about it, but a trump card if we need to. But I don't want to put the whole group in danger, and I don't want to risk those documents. What
You
if...
went somewhere you were not supposed to be, and you were seen. We should not be here right now.
Jesse nods. Look, I'm interested in what's going on here as well, Isaac, but given the amount of heat that you may have brought upon yourself, if you were seen going to this group tomorrow, we might just put them all in danger. Our best course of action for them might be to just leave now, hopefully before anyone can stop us. You did just get back, yes? We
Yes.
might still have time.
We might. We might. Karash, I will wait with you if you want. If you want to leave, then that's fine too.
It is not worth the risk. There are Dragonborn that are trying to find one another already. They will collect with time, but we cannot afford to be here.
Okay, then let's go.
Yeah, Tessin starts rolling up both the scrolls. And we're putting them in the bag of holding.
I was just about to say, they're going in the bag of holding as soon as they're rolled up. I think Grail made a couple copies, or one copy of each. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd like to make a copy of the mana cannon and of the ship, not just one or the other. So if I had time, then that'd be cool. But if I could only choose one, we saw the ship first, so that's the one that I have to go with.
Tessin's gonna stop you from making a copy of the gun.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Grail, but the fewer people could potentially know that this thing exists, the better. Even a rough design sketch might give people ideas, and I don't think that's wise.
I probably agree, Grail. Unfortunately, it doesn't. If we don't have the manuscript itself as proof, that's where the real value is, I think, at this point.
All right.
She wants to make her own mannequin. Leave her alone.
I know.
Yeah,
Just-
come on,
it's-
y'all. It's a
Well,
long
check the
con.
hallway.
The rise of Grail, the heel turn. Okay.
All right, Karash, make me a perception check. I will
I'm
say it
looking
was
for
about.
my-
I'll say it was about 7:30 when you guys reconvened.
Okay.
So like you have time to get there. You don't have time to dilly dally, but
Shit, we can't even really sneak.
Pick one!
You know what?
Critical failure.
How in character, though, with what you just learned.
yeah.
I'm gonna open the door, stick my head out, and close it again immediately.
There's like five ninjas right around the door.
Unfortunately, I'd love to think of a scheme for distraction or a stealth route. We don't have time. I think we just need to go and hope.
I stick my head out. Housekeeping?
It's not believable for your body type and frame whatsoever. All right. So you guys pack up your belongings. Have already paid for the room, but that's okay. And
Is there a back door to this
Worth
place
it.
that we can go out of?
there is, yes, if you wish to use it.
Mike, you did talk about wanting to leave a note. Did you want us to do that at all? Or
We can talk about that as we move,
all right.
I guess. Because I don't know how that's going to go down one way or the other, but I guess in my mind, we can mail a damn thing if we
Okay,
want to.
sure,
I'm
let's
assuming
go.
that exists. Yeah.
All right, we're booking it then.
Okay.
And if we can, we should try to go like on the outs. I don't know how the town is situated, but like we shouldn't walk down the main thoroughfare.
I would lead them through the town in the way that makes the most sense for making it on time, but also being less main route as possible.
Okay. I will have everyone make a stealth check. And they're not
Stealth.
trying to be sneaky or slow per se, but still, it's a matter of how much attention you're bringing upon yourself.
7.
Big 7.
14 for me.
24 for Grail.
9 for me.
Okay.
Oh no, everyone's flustered except for me.
Grail's in the middle of all of us. No one knows she's there.
She is helping at times as you guys kind of weave through the streets, staying away from the main thoroughfares with Isaac's familiarity with the town. Grail at times kind of helps someone if they're trying to, like, they're close to stumbling, or like if she sees someone sort of starting to look in your guys' directions. You seem a little bit more hurried than most people would be walking through the town at this time of night. She kind of like, pushes you behind a wall real quick so you can't be seen. She's kind of helping. Even so, it does sort of feel like you're out in the open here and relatively exposed. The moon is like 2/3 full, so there's a decent amount of light here as you get into the mid to late evening here. But overall, as you guys make your way to the train station, nobody seems to stop you. Very few people even really notice your hustle and bustle through the streets. As you get to the train station, you can see, well, for Karash, Tessian, and Lena, it is nowhere near as busy as before. There are people there. Some seem to have already boarded. Some of them seem to be set to. You probably have all of maybe 10 minutes before this train's about to depart.
Tessian walks right up to the guy and is like, God, did we have to say where we were going? I don't think so. We just needed tickets, right?
I think you just needed tickets, if I remember last time.
I don't know. I don't remember
Six,
if it was
like 6 weeks ago, so you have to forgive me for not remembering
That's
for sure.
fine.
Yeah, it was something.
Anyway, but Tessian and I don't. Maybe Tessian's memory is better than mine, but he just like legit just puts all the correct amount of gold up on the counter. Like he's just 5 tickets. Just
Okay.
boom.
Easy enough transaction, especially in a rush. The same disinterested clerk is there. Looks at you momentarily when she sees you approach. Says, "I suppose I shouldn't care, but don't you have tickets for tomorrow?"
And Tessian's like, what can I say? Places to be. And he just sort of just taps quickly.
She says, "Well, you've made it just about in time. If you have those other tickets, I can give you the gold for them, or we can just use that to pay for these."
He is sure. He fishes out the tickets and puts them on the counter.
Okay. Save you some gold, isn't that nice?
Any
I was
chance?
thinking of it, but I didn't want it.
Any chance we could leave pronto? Just
Yeah, we're just like waiting for the receipt to print out.
Yeah.
Uh,
like maybe
The
just a few
roll,
minutes ahead of schedule.
Patches.
The trains here work like clockwork. It'll leave on time. Something wrong?
Just really excited to go to our next destination.
She kind of gives you a look for a minute. She goes,
Tessian tries to interrupt. He's like, look, our friend there, and he points to Karash, is like, might have made a few people angry at the bar. You know how it is.
Yes, of course. Well, I won't keep any longer then. Here's your new tickets. Have a pleasant trip."
And he just gives her a nod, grabs the tickets, and like, let's go.
So we should be able to board, or unless the train's not here yet.
Well, the train's here.
Okay,
Chilling.
so we can get on.
It arrived about 20 minutes ago. Let people off, and then... you guys are able to board the train. For run-of-the-mill tickets, all of this is basically passenger train. This is, you can probably fit like 6 in a booth on either side and sit together. There are also like sleeping cabin accommodations and the like, but those are reserved for the wealthier or more well-off, or those just willing to splurge. So in this particular case, you can wade through some of the people. Since most people have already boarded, there aren't too many seats open, but you're able to kind of weave your way through a few cars and then find a booth that is not occupied by anybody yet that you can have all to yourself if you would like. Or you could not all sit together. That's up to you.
Is it like mid-train? Can we get one that's like up against a side of the car so that our backs are sort of semi-covered? Does that make sense?
I would say in the time that you have before the train departs, you can head a few more cars back and have a look. There is also another open booth in the train car that is one up. Well, there's one car between it and the caboose. So it's not on the very end, but it's the next to last. That has an entire booth open. Otherwise, you're going to have to be sharing it with some randos or something else.
I bet just, Lena, maybe we just split up until we... How long is the train ride?
It depends on what your destination is.
Well, it's going to stop somewhere, and that'll be like the first... Like, how long until the next stop?
The next stop is about 30 minutes.
Oh. Do you just want to... Maybe we split up for now.
Yes,
We can
I think
reconvene in a bit.
I think that would be wise. Not bring too much attention to ourselves.
And Tessian's like, well, I think you and Grail, he's talking to Isaac, I think you and Grail should sit off alone then. Just try to keep the heat off the rest of us.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Sure.
I am very subtle.
You guys, how far apart are you going? Just separate cars? Same car,
I'll
different
go a
areas?
Couple cars down, because like if shit hits the fan, I don't want to be too far away. but
Yeah, I
yeah,
might
go like a car between.
one car over or something.
Okay.
That sounds safe-ish.
Everybody make me a perception check.
Oh, what do you know? Everyone in the car is one of Valstriden's men.
The train car is full
12.
of 28 Connor Drydens.
Critical.
Yeah, 12 for me as well.
I see everything.
The Ocho.
Hey, none that were like terrible.
What'd you get, Grell? Oh, you're muted, so you have to...
18. She got 18.
18.
Thanks.
Okay. I was like, I looked away because I was going to check something on the screen, and I just saw your mouth going...
Bop, 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 bop.
I was like, ah, yes. Ah, yes. The biggity boop.
Yep.
As you guys have basically just settled into these new seats, you can feel the train lurch. The whistle is blown, and it starts to pull out of the station at Timberbrook. Inside is this kind of just relatively quiet, but still like noticeable just hum of voices as different people converse in the different booths along in each of the cars that you guys are occupying. It does seem like the train is not quite at full capacity, maybe because of the time of day. Relatively full still. Again, you didn't have the easiest time finding open spots, but maybe like 60%. There are definitely like booths that only have a couple people in them, or are not full to the brim by any means. And as the train slowly starts to pull away from the station, Isaac, you glance out the window, and it's kind of tough to see because it's already starting to like get further away as the train pulls out and gains some speed. But you see your brother
Ha.
with what appears to be at least a half dozen men in tow, and he kind of runs up to the station, looks around, kind of eyeballs the train, doesn't seem to notice anyone in particular, you or otherwise.
I was gonna, for your benefit, even though it's not exactly in character, I would shy away a little bit. Maybe peek like behind like the divider, not stick my head out the window. I had so many good burns ready to go, but I'm not gonna do it. If he didn't see me, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, well, the natural 20 is easy to kind of peek around without being nearly as conspicuous at all.
Okay.
He doesn't seem to notice anything in particular. He just turns and seems to be talking to his men as you lose sight of him as the train pulls further away.
While it's happening, I kind of tug on like Grail's sleeve to get her to look too. And
Go ahead.
say, we don't always get this confirmation on the decisions that we make, but we definitely made the right choice here, huh?
And I kind of like glance over I try and be very coy about the whole thing and just kind of look at you, and I raise my eyebrows and I just kind of nod and I wipe my forehead.